Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations walkthrough. So, you might have seen this at the end of the last part when it was first uploaded, but I kind of made an editing error. So, first part of Stolen Turnabout was re-uploaded, all fixed, and now we are here. Oh, don't you just hate it when that happens, especially considering I'm probably going to bring it up later in this part, actually. Well, either this part or the next part, because it seems as though editing errors are the main course, or the special for the day, it seems. But anyway, we have a new person here who, I have to say, I'm very, very surprised at the length of his nose. It's kind of ridiculously long, to be fair. I'm not quite sure how anybody gets a nose that's that pointed. Like, he's a major Pinocchio lookalike. Like, seriously, it's insane. But, yes, this is Look At Me, which is, you know, look at me, look at me, look at me. And that is all that name is ever going to get, because just my god. Now, in French, his name is Mat Moissa, which comes from Mat Moi Sa, which means look at this, or essentially sort of means look at me, in a sort of weird way, because moi is me, sa, I believe, is this, and mat is clearly look. So it's kind of look me this, or you get the gist. His Japanese name, which is Aiga Hoshidake, comes from the phrase, which is literally just Aiga Hoshidake, which is I just want love. But also, the kanji for dake means mountain, which quite fits with Atmi's grand sense of self, I have to say. Like, he's got a massive ego. Like, it's not very often that you come across someone who has a ludicrously large ego, but, Atmi's is quite gigantic. Now, what's quite funny is that because obviously his Japanese name meaning I just want love, many Japanese Ace Attorney fans sent him chocolate on Valentine's Day addressed to Capcom. And he actually received more Valentine's Day chocolates than Phoenix Wright and a certain character who we have yet to meet. Which is kind of insane considering he's basically just a minor character, but there we go. A few other little details, to use the posh pronunciation of details, about Atmi is his flamboyant bow tie somewhat resembles, or obviously it's different in colour, and that worn by the primary defence protagonist in very, very early concept art for the Ace Attorney series. This being when it was a green-haired guy in a waistcoat and he had like this massive blue bow tie, which is kind of ridiculous. And obviously that character would go on to become Phoenix Wright eventually, but obviously they decided let's reuse that bow tie because it's quite an interesting design. And also, despite the fact that in his official artwork he has 2 golden chains with a ruby button at either end of them, they're not visible on his sprite at all. And also, he sort of looks a bit like the penguin in terms of his visual design, and that might be saying something, I feel. And last but not least is a little bit about his catchphrase that you probably heard a little bit about already, which is the Zvari. So in the Japanese version, he talks with a lot of very old Japanese words, and his catchphrase is Suvari, well, Zuvari, which is based on the word Zubari, which is literally, frankly, or decisively, and it's often used in Japanese infomercials. Now, at one point in the localization process, his catchphrase was Shwing, but Janet Sue, who, if you just bear with me un secundo, yeah, so she was in charge of, well, she worked on the localization of the games. I think was one of the main translators and localizers on the project. And she's also actually the voice of Prosecutor Franziska von Karma in English and French versions of the game. So she's pretty awesome. So she changed it to Zvari, because obviously it's a catchy, eccentric phrase worthy of the character. And it's based on that Japanese catchphrase of Zuvari, so it works out in the long run. And that's about as much as I've got on Atme for now, which means that we've just got to do a little bit of investigating into what the hell has been taking place, because, like, yes, Pearl is quite right. Mystic Army was holding that sword, and it was perfectly straight. Obviously, you've got the prongs on it, but it had not been bent in such a fashion. So, somebody used it. Oh, I felt that. I really did. And, like, Maya, this is why we're generally not allowed on crime scenes, because situations like that occur where the evidence, like the important evidence that could solve the case, has been tampered with by our fingerprints. Kinda makes it difficult. But yes, bit of a computer with details about cameras right down my line of interest, because like we need this sort of information, though obviously Nix doesn't really know what he's doing. It's kind of funny because obviously the game came out in 2004, well, around early 2000s, and while obviously computers were becoming a lot more common to that point, like a lot more common, because obviously, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, where you generally didn't have a computer until the end of the 90s, and then most households had one. And obviously now we're in the era in 2017 where practically every member of the family has a computer of some description, whether it's an actual desktop computer or a laptop or an iPad or a tablet of any other description. Because obviously there are other brands of tablet. So it does kind of date the Ace Attorney franchise a little bit, because when the game came out and was being localised, obviously it was in a time where people still didn't really use computers all that much. So even though Nick's not that old, he's clearly still in that age bracket where they've not necessarily grown up using computers, and so they don't they've got to get used to them. And obviously, you know, the mobile phones are brick mobile phones, which is hilarious. So, yeah, it's one of those, and I do find it fascinating that, in that instance, the game is quite heavily dated, despite the fact that this is meant to take place in sort of the near future. I mean, I suppose it follows down to the whole thing of the game is meant to take place in California, when quite clearly it takes place in Japan. I mean, you look at the Fae uniform and you're just like, yeah, it's definitely Japan. I mean, even when you look at the way the law works in Ace Attorney, it's very heavily based off of the Japanese justice system. Obviously, it's an exaggerated version of the Japanese justice system, but yeah. And, wow, this is insane! How on earth did they manage to capture Mask to Mask? Like, you would have thought, like, it would have been a bit more difficult to capture? But apparently not. So, actually, yes, this makes it so that we are, well, Maya's technically the victim in this case. So, this is actually the first case in the entirety of the Ace Attorney franchise, I believe, that is not about murder. Which is kind of bonkers that it took so long in the franchise to get to a non-murder case. But these things do happen. Now, Ron Delight, basically his name's kind of slightly ironic, in that, so his first name, Ron, was originally a Hebrew name which means joy, and his surname is obviously Delight, which is obviously just a play on the word delight. And his French name is similar, because his surname is du plaisir, which is just pleasure. But you have also got the fact of his name Ron could come from rondelli, which is a spiral-shaped pasta similar to his hair, which is kind of hilarious. And his Japanese surname is Amasugi, which comes from Amasugiru, which means too sweet, which is kind of quite fitting for his personality type. Now, Ron here, obviously, he says he is Mask to Mask, but, you know, I'm very suspicious because he doesn't have any clue where the, Sacred Urn is, and just everything smells suspicious here. But yeah, so Ron is notably the only character for whom font colours other than orange, blue or green are used. Excluding one instance in which Nick actually, well, accidentally starts copying Ron's habit of slowly but surely quieting just a whisper so you can barely hear him. Whether you actually heard any, that's a completely different matter altogether, but still. In addition to this, the usage of a star in, you know, the fact that he's Mask to Mask, that name is nearly unique in that only foreign fictional languages are depicted by meaningless symbols. Such as Borginian, which doesn't make any sense to me, but I believe it comes from Apollo Justice. But yes, that language, as it seems. Yeah, I think it is in Apollo Justice that turns up. So yeah, so the star is unique, but basically, so obviously he trails off, and his words get smaller and smaller and smaller, and fade to a more greyish colour. That is also unique. So Ron's actually a surprisingly unique, I'm going to keep saying that, unique character. But we shall go and investigate his hideout, I feel. There's very little else we can do at this point, and he wants us to deliver or speak to Desi. So, we probably should. And this is Desiree, who is actually the Desi that one was talking about. Desiree comes from the French word for desired, so obviously her full name means desired delight. That's basically all of that. And what's kind of hilarious? It's not hilarious because it's actually very wrong, but she's referred to as Miss Delight in the game, despite the fact that she really should be called Mrs. Delight because she is actually Ron's wife. So it's quite an interesting one, I feel. And I do really quite like this song, so I believe this is Blissful People, because it's just so kind of upbeat and bouncy, and it's just one of those Ace Attorney songs I'm just like, yes, I feel this, I love this, it's great. But yes, it seems that Desiree might not actually know that Ron is Mask to Mask, which is kind of insane considering, you know, all the Mask to Mask stuff located all over the place. It's ridiculous. But it is true that, yeah, Ron's not really the risk-taking type. So it does make it very questionable that he is indeed Mask to Mask, but just something is really fishy here. We really do need to kind of get our finger down on it. But I think it's going to take quite a while to get to that point. Because, I mean, as you would expect, this is our first proper trial, so we're going to be investigating, we're going to be going into the trial, we're going to be investigating again, and then we're going to go back into the trial again. So it's one of those multi-day trials, which means things just keep going and going and going and going and going. It's by far not the longest trial in the game. Part of me feels that that accolade is still held by Case 5 in Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 1. But essentially the two longest ones, I feel, at least in the original trilogy, are Rise from the Ashes and the final trial of this game, actually. Which, I mean, is totally fine by me. But it's just one of those things, but, Oh! That's very interesting. So, either Ron is Mask to Mask, and is just sort of pretending to Desi that he's his biggest fan, or he is actually delusional and is his biggest fan but thinks that he is the real Mask to Mask. Oh, it's getting a little bit complicated, but I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll work this out because, well, we kind of have to because it's looking very, very, very likely that Ron is going to be our client. So, oh, but that is good that you won't stand for illegal activity, but I'm sure we'll find something else out a little bit later. But yes, of course we can give Ron a letter. Like, that's quite an easy task to accomplish, so I think we can manage that one. So, let's head back to the detention centre. Yay!